Hey, this is Zach with Web3 Reviews. Thank you for being with us. Today, we're going to be talking about Flare and Songbird. Let's go. Remember that none of this is financial advice. Start this off, we're going to look at this tweet from Hugo. He says, had a few phone calls today. There is huge demand to get yield on Bitcoin and XRP. Fassets can only exist because of Flare's data protocols. Imagine what else could be built with data. I know that personally, I'm going to be putting my XRP to work. I have some Bitcoin maxi friends who don't want to get rid of their Bitcoin. I just let them know that soon you'll have some more utility with that Bitcoin. You'll be able to earn a yield through Fassets on your Bitcoin. Hugo goes on to say that the tools to achieve this are already being built on Flare with FXRP as the staking asset. The FTC can then be used to slash services being provided by the staked node slash services provided. A great example of this would be if somebody wanted to relay the FTSO price to XRPL using the XRP Oracle proposed. Somebody commented on this and said, if you're not a techie, this doesn't really mean much to you. It's a little bit hard to understand. And Hugo responded trying to break it down. Basically, staking your XRP to some service that requires security from the stake in order to participate in the yield that the service offers with good behavior enforced by the proofs provided by the FTC. In other words, whoever is providing you liquidity is going to be locking up their asset. A lot of Songbird and Flare are going to get locked up. I think the number was that you're going to need 4 Songbird for every 1 XRP and 2 Flare for every 1 XRP. So if you wanted to lock up 100 XRP, you would need 200 Flare to lock it up. Or there would have to be an FTSO provided that asset as security. That is my understanding. Somebody also commented, but FXRP yields what asset? Flare or more FXRP? Hugo responds again, it would depend on the service you are staking to. For example, if you were staking to secure the relay of the FTSO prices to XRPL, it would be likely XRP as the payment for the Oracle service. That makes sense to me. There's going to be different options. When you provide your XRP to an FTSO, they're going to be giving you FXRP, and you could potentially be earning FXRP or Flare for what you provide. And it depends who you're providing it to. I'm really excited for this to come out. And of course, it's going to be coming out on Songbird first. In Songbird, on the daily, Songbird hit 1.2 million transactions, nearly 1.19 million transactions on the daily. RouteScan.io says, guys, it's just a canary chain. Songbird's going to be huge. Songbird's sitting at 0.6 of a penny. What's not to love? Here's the chart for Flare, speaking of. We're sitting at 1.4 cents. It's about time for Flare to rip. DeFi Divvy said that earlier too. He said, I don't really have anything to say other than price needs to go up. Songbird, 0.6 of a penny. On the daily, we're having some big swings there. But on that all-time chart, we'll see that we are just sitting. This chart reminds me of Zcash. It's an asset that came out, had a big sell-off, and had this time of sitting at a low. 0.6 of a penny. We are going to see some big price action there. I know it. I can't wait to see it. We see that on CoinMarketCap, it's 79% bullish. Davis Brooks says, while I'm excited for Fassets, Flare's role in data has been more geeked than ever. More specifically, Flare's work on verifiable compute could open the door to more advanced AI applications within smart contracts by ensuring that AI computations off-chain are secure, accurate, and transparent. This would make it possible to have more sophisticated and autonomous smart contracts in the not-so-distant future. Trust and safety is everything. Flare is building that trust. Craig says that so many think Fassets is the end goal, and reality is just the beginning. And Davis Brooks continues on. Flare is taking a very good approach with data. Data in DeFi is very important when using AI. This will help them a lot, even on their own platform and expanding outwards, taking a top-down approach, which I love. You have to go top-down. If you start at the bottom and go up, it never works. And that's why it's an argument for why Bitcoin can't work. But we'll get into that another time. Looking at Dan Rocky. Posted this from Flare, and Flare says that oracles can bring any data on-chain, not just prices. Think about other chain states, social media data, sports results, election outcomes, and even IDs. Dan Rocky says there are literally endless possibilities with data on-chain provided decentralized with Flare oracles. Just today in his group, we discussed bringing the music industry on-chain. Imagine being a shareholder of music royalties on Spotify, brought to you by Flare oracles. I've heard people talk about this. There's a project called Fanscope on Polygon, which is talking about this. I'm a Gala music guy. We talk about Gala music all the time. I think it's a great idea. I think that if you're providing data to these companies, you're going to be getting paid in Flare or whatever asset is being provided. It could end up being a music-related token. This is a huge opportunity. The music industry is worth billions. I like where Dan Rocky's going, and I like what Flare says. Social media data, sports results, election outcomes, and even IDs. It reminds me of Brave browser, too. You're getting paid for your data. That just makes sense. Here at Flare, if you're providing assets which are allowing FTSOs to work, you're going to be getting paid in tokens accordingly. Then we see this document here. To increase the utility of Flare's ability to securely provide data, the Flare Data Connector, FTC, introduced in this white paper, makes it simpler for Flare users to import external events onto the Flare network. This in turn allows dApps and processes on Flare to operate on information about a wider range of events. Off-chain events can be confirmed by Flare's validators and thus exported to its users as data secured by Flare's underlying consensus. The FTC The FTC provides a mechanism for the Flare network's providers to bring events within the wider blockchain ecosystem and even beyond onto Flare. Crucially, the FTC is a user-focused protocol. Unlike the FTSO, which updates a predetermined list of feeds, users submit requests for particular events of interest to the FTC, and Flare's providers confirm that the data is correct and should be published on Flare, as shown in Figure 1. You know, there are people building betting sites on Flare, and this is going to be huge because in a live betting sense, you want that data to be instant of what that score is. A lot of times you have live betting sites, and you need it to be up to date to give you those odds if you're doing live betting. I'm not trying to talk like a degenerate here, but I'm just saying the FTC is going to be huge. It's going to provide data for all sorts of things. Here we have this tweet from Flare. Another milestone for Flare and Fassets. The FTC is coming to Songbird. In its initial deployment, the FTC will support the attestation types required for the Fassets system, as well as the EVM transaction types. So this is just getting us one step closer to Fassets. Let's look at this old tweet from Hugo. Almost all future use cases of the blockchain, AI, gaming, identity, real-world assets, will require some amount of external data attested onto chain. Decentralization, scalability, and low latency are key. Flare is the blockchain for data. Flare community says Flare is the only network with enshrined oracles. Let that sink in. We see here this image: decentralized, rapidly upscaling, extendable, accurate, and incentivized participation. Hugo also spoke on October 14th on Twitter about what he thought was going to happen with Flare regardless of how Fassets win. And he said, "My answer is that I think it is wrong to assume that Fassets will make or break Flare. It's a great use case and I can't wait for Fassets to launch. Flare is about the increasing opportunity to safely harness all kinds of data in blockchain. Data is our key focus." I love it. Flare is going to do huge things. I learned about Flare through the XRP snapshot back in 2020. 4 years have passed. And I'll say this, I'm more impressed and bullish now than I ever was. And I'm bullish on Songbird too. Thank you for being with us. Zach with Web3 Reviews. Until next time.